Hello, everyone. I literally just got home from work, so if I seem a little tired, that would be why. But I have to talk about the new Black Christmas trailer. This is a new Black Christmas in the year 2019. I think could work. I mean, you take the original idea of somebody harassing a group of sorority girls on the phone. You take a modern day perspective and you look at like where he's sending them like pictures of themselves in the shower, getting changed with their boyfriends. You set it on a backdrop of something like a riot going on in town over. So the police force have their hands tied. So you have like one lone cop trying to help them, but there's more pressing matters. There's just nothing they can do at the moment over some guy harassing these women. And I think that could work, but man, this new trailer looks awful. I mean, it just looks terrible. It's like, and even take the poster. The poster for the original had like a woman with like a wrap over her mouth. And you know what you're getting into? You're getting into like a movie where you're going to see some people get killed by a psycho. And then the remake, which I don't particularly care for, but I think it's got a great poster. It's just a Christmas ornament covered in blood. And it tells you exactly what it is. It's a Christmas movie, but we're going to see some violence. We're going to see something dark as well as this Christmas. This new poster has like the four lead characters holding like a sorority paddle and like a string of Christmas lights, just looking badass. And one of them's holding an axe because they were too lazy to think of another sorority slash Christmas themed weapon for him to hold. And then there was this tweet by, oh, I can't remember if it's April or Alice. Sorry, give me a sec, because I had one to write it. Um, April Wolfe, sorry, the writer April Wolfe would come out and she sent out this tweet. Here's the deal: we wrote it with an R in mind. Wolfe wrote, and when they did the test screenings, it was clear that this movie needed to be available to younger female audience because the subject matter is timely. Okay, whatever. I also want to indoctrinate girls into horror. It doesn't make it any less vicious. First of all, taking it down from an R rating inherently makes it less vicious. That's the nature of censorship violence, is it's less vicious. Wolfe is a liar. I mean, she's just a liar. That statement simply cannot be true, and she knows it cannot be true. But like this idea of they did the test screenings, it was clear that this movie had very bad test screenings, and so the statement here of it need to be available to younger female audience because the subject matter is timely. This means is they're trying very hard to say that it's a female empowerment movie, and they are hoping that 15 and 16-year-olds are too stupid to spend their money wisely. And I think I think that she's gonna be proven wrong. I think this movie's gonna tank, and part of me hopes it does because of this statement, because it's kind of an asshole thing to say. But then Sophie Takal, I think Takal. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry. She hasn't said anything that's I found that egregious, and I don't want her career to be over because of Wolfe's ignorant statement. The actresses, I don't have any problem with any of the actresses in it at this moment. I don't know if they're going to say anything that I find irritatingly ignorant or not, but I don't want their careers to fail because of this one dumb statement. And I wish I had found the quote, but I saw a quote, and I believe it was from Bloody Disgusting, but don't quote me on that, wherein somebody said, PG-13 isn't horror, it's Goosebumps. And first of all, I got into horror through Goosebumps and Night of the Living Dead, but like my first real introduction to horror was reading Goosebumps when I was younger, because they weren't that intense, and I was kind of a wimp as a child. So, good job throwing everyone who reads Goosebumps under the bus. I mean, you're kind of an asshole too. You're kind of more. I don't know who's more of an asshole, but you're an asshole. And like this idea that PG-13 isn't horror. Have you ever heard of Jaws? Have you ever heard of Poltergeist? And these are great movies. I mean, people like that Happy Death Day, which I think the movie's garbage, but a lot of people like it. So obviously there's some kind of market for it. I'll go out and say I think Coraline was great, and I think as an adult the movie Coraline is genuinely unnerving. It's rated PG. I mean, the idea that it can't be R rated in horror is stupid, but the idea that they took it from an R rating and cut out visceral scenes tells me that this wasn't a movie they made and it just happened to be PG-13. You know, it wasn't like a Coraline where it was like when they made this movie, they made it to be this certain way and that was PG, wherein, you know, they weren't going, and honestly I think the movie should have been PG-13, but that's why I'm not part of the MPAA, because I'm not a jackass who will give movies ratings based on the studio, what the studio wants instead of what people actually need. And I think tomorrow I'm going to record a video about the rating system because that's a whole nother discussion. But anyway, you look at this trailer, and I really like the movie Quarantine. The trailer for Quarantine, and I know it gives away the ending, but the movie Quarantine makes you feel this dread. These people are locked away, and there's this sense of dread and like panic and anxiety, and which is the inherent element of horror. Is horror is meant to make you feel those. Is a safe place to feel those negative emotions, the visceral joy of gore effects of something like The Fly, or the feeling of anxiety. You know, that's what makes Lovecraftian horror so popular among fans, is because you are in a situation you can't win. There's a very anxious element to that. It's like, you know, humanity stands no chance against the great old ones. You know, Cthulhu isn't a monster, it's an idea. It's the idea of humanity's smallness in the world. You know, that fear and anxiety and repulsion and just pure terror, you know, that tightness in your chest you get from being so far outclassed that it's a struggle just to meet the challenge, much less beat it. But that's not what this Black Christmas 2019 trailer is portraying. You know, there's a couple of scenes where it's like a lot of scenes where it feels almost exploitative, where it's like, drunk girls, woo! And I think that's kind of irritating. It's kind of feeding into the kind of the worst parts of slashers. That party cliche that I wish slashers would discard. Instead of discarding the violence, they're discard those elements, the unlikable characters. And, you know, between those and like maybe the one scene where she's walking and the guy's on her phone behind her and she's paranoid that that's the man who's harassing her, and then he crosses the street. It's like that one scene. Then there's just so many scenes of it's like, yeah, we're badass. We're gonna take the fight to them, and that's not horror. That's action. I mean, you've made an action movie at this point, at least if the trailer is anything to believe. And you know, she made this statement about wanting young girls to get into horror, but you're not. You're not getting girls into horror. You're getting girls in. I mean, this movie feels so much more like that Jennifer Garner movie Peppermint, which I think is an alright movie. I think it's a decent movie, but it's an action movie. There's nothing particularly horrific about it, as opposed to, say, you know, the original Black Christmas and the Black Christmas remake. I mean, I don't know. I guess like it just seems so tame, but so power fantasy-ish, and the power fantasy is the way you supposed to feel when you watch an action movie. You know, horror isn't about horror is literally the opposite of a power fantasy. It is, you have to feel helpless and weak in horror, and even the fight back has to be an uphill battle. You know, if it's Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof isn't a horror movie, because the moment the girls realize what's going on, they fight back, and it doesn't feel like they're in trouble, and it's fine. It's just not a horror. You never feel like there's a chance they're gonna lose. So, I mean, I don't know. I think the movie's gonna be terrible. With this PG-13 rating, it was went way down my list of movies I kind of want to see. But I don't know. I really kind of hope it does well for Sophie Takal. But I just out April Wolfe's comments just really rubbed me the wrong way, and that's kind of why I felt I had to make this video, this non-reaction reaction video. But I don't know. Maybe I'll record and put up the video about the rating MPAA's rating system tomorrow or the day after or something like that. I'm gonna try. But anyway, I will see you, Chaos Infinity viewer, next time. Bye.